Oh my god, the wait was so worth it. Our off-screen merchant, Togo Shiba, cooked royally in this chapter. We've been waiting so long for him to return and he's finally back in all his fraudulent glory. It's so cool how he can just go from being like the most frustrating character in the whole series and then immediately rock up, do something awesome, solidify himself as a top 3 or a merchant of the series, and then everyone suddenly loves him again. I can't wait to see what happens next. I know for certain that for the next 100 chapters or so, like, Sheba's gonna be off screen again, but whatever, we had our nice little dose, and let's just get into breaking it down, because this chapter is ridiculous, I'm not gonna lie. So chapter starts with Azami and Yura, or Magatsumi Yura, kind of in a little tuffle. He obviously takes the first kick from Azami, and then just kicks him, blitzes him, holds the sword to his neck, makes him go all flowery, and Azami's done. Alright, he did a great job. I wish it was a little bit more on screen, but Azami did a really good job. He is out of the fight now, though. Lost both of his arms like it's finished. Anyway, we then get some information about the force field and the fact that 2 different vessels are trying to fight for control. Basically, it's the fact that they're conflicting that is stopping the phone signals, which is why we can't reach reinforcements, and there's an anti-enchanted blade barrier, which Lucas is enforcing. So Lucas is just running away with his head. Therefore, the original vessel barrier guy has decided that if he dies, that would be the best scenario. So he asks Izuru to kill him, because if he dies, then all of the control will shift over to Lucas, meaning the strength of the barrier stopping the enchanted blades getting through is even stronger, but it would mean that their phones work again because the barrier would stabilize, and that means, ladies and gentlemen, we will be able to call our reinforcements Hiyuki and Sheba. To which the barrier then guy, the barrier then guy? No. The barrier guy then says, if I die, everyone will be saved. Now that is an insane statement to make, because this guy can sense the presence and the rough power level of everybody in the building. That means Magatsumi Yura in the basement. That means all of the other Hishaku. And this guy has determined that if we're able to get the phones up and running and call in Hiyuki and Sheba, then we win, and everyone will be saved. That is an insane amount of faith that he's placing in those two soldiers, so they clearly have a reputation. And the barrier guy, we then get a little bit of a flashback where it's like, he goes for this classic, 2025 job interview. This is just what job interviews are like these days. He goes in and he's like, I want to build a better world, that's why I want to become the vessel, and he just kind of bluffed his way through because he is blatantly lying. He is there for money and no other reason. He's sick of being poor, he wants money, but naturally he, puts on a nice suit, goes in for the interview. He's like, yeah, I want to make a better world. No, he wants to not be broke anymore. He wants to live off something other than McDonald's, which is very, very relatable in this day and age, especially for people our age. But yeah, so he's now decided, right, fine, give the money to my family, whatever, kill me because this is the way I can finally actually do something good in the world. Good for him. Izuru's like, yeah, cool, but then suddenly out of nowhere, Hokuto sneaks Izuru. He gets all the way in and they have a little clash, end up in the water. So Hakuri and Ikuto, who are observing using his MRI machine, have to intervene and follow through with the plan of taking the original barrier guy or the vessel guy out of play. To which Ikuto's like, yo, Hakuri, summon a sword over there and I'll use my magnetism to just kill him. And Hakuri's like, nah, bruv, that's not how I do things. So Hakuri transports himself next to the vessel guy, touches him to register him to the storehouse, and then removes him from this space completely by just sending him to the storehouse, which is like insanely massive IQ from Hakuri, because now the vessel can live, but also he's no longer in that space, meaning he can't control the barrier, and all control will go to Lucas, meaning in that exact moment, thanks to Hakuri yet again, because this guy is somehow always enabling every other character in the story, but thanks to Hakuri yet again, we are now going to be able to contact our reinforcements. And it was around this time that I started to see the vision, alright? I started to see the clear picture, because obviously last week we ended with Shiba sitting right next to the phone, and now we've kind of completed this plan in which we should be able to call them, and Azami's getting beaten to Kingdom Come. And I started to piece the little puzzle pieces together, and oh my days, Hokuzono just absolutely cooked, because as soon as you see the vessel guy in the storehouse, you don't even see the phone ring. You just see a single panel of the phone on Shiba's desk. You see Azami saying, it took you long enough, and with no like grand entrance, no like insane superhero landing, just raw aura. Immediately in the next page, like on some crazy, like this is some Minato level timing, all right? Shiba is just in the background behind Yura. Wow. That is aura. I'm sorry, the way Shiba consistently does this, no big dramatic entrance, he's just immediately there, like that. He was just sitting at Kyora's desk back in the Rakuzaichi. He was just standing behind Tenri trying to open the door because he just appears there silently, just like you know how Minato be moving in Naruto. So you just turn the page, as soon as the phone goes up, Shiba is just already behind Yura, all the way down in the Kamanabi basement, so nonchalantly, and it's just like, how do you come back from the story after not being here for like over a year, and suddenly you are just top 1 in aura again? That's crazy. And then, of course, obviously, we know Shiba is the only guy we have ever seen Yura fret over, okay? We know he was a little bit, like, worried about Samura, because he's hella strong. The only other person he's ever shown any worry about at all in his plan is Shiba. So Shiba pulls up to Magatsumi Yura, basically ends up behind him, and before Yura can even turn around to look, Shiba's already teleported straight next to him, grabs him by the tie, says, let's step this outside, and then before either of them can move a single muscle, they're outside. And that's when I clocked, oh here's the plan. This is what we're doing. If we can't bring the enchanted blades to Yura, Shiba's just gonna bring the enchanted blades to them. And sure enough, without even trying to fight, because of course we're not gonna get to see him fight yet. Oh god, Shiba, please man. I just want to see you fuck shit up. Shiba just immediately disappears and leaves Yura floating in the sky, and I can't lie, Yura has some unbelievably insane aura just floating up here in the sky like that. But with Yura floating up in the sky outside of Kamanabi HQ with no way to get back in, we see that he is facing off now with Chihiro and Samura, and the chapter ends with an insanely cool double spread of both of them having their abilities activated, ready to take on the floating, Magatsumi-wielding, unrestricted Yura. I say unrestricted because Soga is no longer trying to take over his mind. So in theory, he is just able to use the power of Magatsumi, including the sword itself, without any actual limitations. In theory, but we don't know for sure. And yeah, the chapter ends. That is crazy. Now, the thing I want to talk about mainly is where we go from here, because the phone call goes through, Shiba gets the information, and immediately he is in that basement, no hesitation. What I love about this chapter, my favorite thing about this chapter, is that when you break it down, Yura at no point actually saw Shiba. He's not looking at him when Shiba arrives, he just senses him, and obviously Azami kind of gives him a little indication that there's someone behind him. And then as Yura turns around, Shiba teleports in front of him, grabs him by the tie. Next second, not even next second, in less than a second, they're outside, and then before Yura can turn back around again, Shiba's already gone. That means in that entire interaction, a Magatsumi-powered Yura never laid eyes on Shiba once. That is like a new tier of blitzing. All right, that is ridiculous. That's like moving so fast that it's not just you can't observe it with your eyes, it's moving so fast that you just don't even know they're there in the first place. All right, that's like, that is genuinely some Minato stuff, which is where my theory of Shiba now comes into play. I think because we know Hokuzono takes a lot of inspiration from Naruto, I say inspiration, a lot of the time it's just kind of copy and paste. I think Shiba is Kagurabachi's Minato. I think he's gonna have the teleportation that makes him the fastest sorcerer. I think that's just gonna be his forte, like flying Raijin. He's just the best at it. And I think he's gonna have a offensive specialty move, which we know, you know, Enji said in the Rakuzaichi, he's no mere teleporter. We saw what Shiba did to that room where he fought the toe, and that room was messed up, all right? So we know that's not all he has. I think he has an offensive specialty like the Rasengan, which is something that Minato had, right? He had his flying Raijin and Rasengan, and that's what he was known for. I don't think we've seen Shiba's Rasengan yet, other than off screen, obviously, because that's kind of his whole thing. But he does seem like he is the Minato guy, and I don't just say that because of the way he be like flying Raijin around the place with his super speed TP. I say that because it really does give the impression he's filling out that role of no special heritage, no special eyes, no enchanted blades, no Datanseki. He's just built different. I think he is just that guy because he is Togo Shiba and for no other reason. And I love characters like that. So Shiba, I don't understand how you've come in here after being gone for so long and just had the most aura in the entire series so far. But that like Mob Psycho Shiozaki style panel of just neither of them move a muscle and immediately they're outside, grabbing the main villain by the tie and just like whoop, done. That's insane. I can't, like, it's the best. The only other thing I want to say about the chapter is I love how Shiba completely erased all of Yura's progress. His only goal was to get to the Swordmaster and either kill him or recruit him and break him out of the jail. Now he is back at the starting line with no way to get back inside unless he just defeats everybody and goes back in there. He could have summoned Magatsumi at any time because he could always use that power because his spirit energy was already imbued in the blade, right? He could have done this anytime. He just needed to get down there. And now Shiba, with like minimal effort, has just straight in there, erased all of his progress, and he's left the rest of the Hishaku running around the base, which means Chihiro and Samura are going to fight this guy, and Shiba has probably teleported back into HQ, along with most likely Hiyuki, because she was the other person that we called for reinforcements, and Shiba and Hiyuki are probably just going to pile drive the rest of the Hishaku in a 2 versus 5. I would love to see Hiyuki versus Bingo and Uran as a duo, right? Uran with the flame and ice powers against Hiyuki's flame bone, and also the fact that, you know, Bingo seems pretty OP as well. They seem to have a good little dynamic going. I just want to see Hiyuki and Shiba stand on business by 2v5ing these Hishaku dons, and I can't lie, if Hokuto couldn't handle Azami, he ain't handling Shiba, so I think these guys are going to make a mess of the Hishaku, but I also feel like a bombshell is going to drop pretty soon. Like, things are now, that went from the worst case scenario to the absolute best case scenario possible, so I think something's probably going to go horrifically wrong. I do just find it very interesting that they chose to send Yura with the nuclear bomb of the enchanted blades out into the public. I think that's the only thing I find kind of weird, is that they were like, well, we're going to have this fight out on the street where innocents can get hurt. I wonder how Hokuzono's gonna dance around with that idea, but realistically, he needs to be fought and he needs to be defeated, so maybe that's just, you know, part of the plan, but it's an insane chapter. I can't wait to see what happens next. Shiba is the highlight for sure. I do really think we're gonna get to see Hiyuki soon. Please, God. Just step on my face, Hiyuki. Anyway, that's the end of the chapter, so I'm gonna cut it there, but yeah, thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in a bit. Peace.